Hi everyone. Are we all comfortable? Yeah, we good? Perfect. Am I too loud? Okay, let me know. All good? So, I've got half an hour and I need to keep track of time because there's a lot of information I'd like to share with you today. So I'm using my phone for notes. Please don't feel like I'm being antisocial and texting whilst I'm talking. It's not that at all. I'm just using my phone for notes. So this is the, I think, third year running the Vegan Festival now in Reading. It's amazing. It gets busier and busier every year. I feel really grateful that I've been asked to fill in for the speaker who was meant to be here. And I want to say thank you to the organisers for having me. I'm really grateful to be here today, sharing my knowledge with all of you guys. And thank you, all of you guys, for being here too. I really appreciate it. You could have chosen to be anywhere, but you've decided to come and listen to me. So I'm really grateful for that. I promise you, you're going to be taking away something valuable with you today. Even if it's just one tip. So whether you are vegan or transitioning to veganism, maybe you're just vegetarian, maybe you're none of the above, I want to say welcome. And it's a pleasure to share the information that I'm about to share with you for the next 30 minutes. My name is Helen. I'm a health and energy coach. And I help people to rediscover their energy. And I do that through nutrition and lifestyle habits. And I want to inspire people to live every day with enjoyment, wake up feeling alive and ready to take on the world. And understand your body, what your body needs. So today my talk, just to remind myself, is called How to Look After Our Health in a Selfless World of Being Vegan. So the reason for my talk is often we go vegan for the animals or the environment, but sometimes and very often we forget about our own health. Can anyone relate to this? Raise your hand. Yeah. So I'm here to remind you that you are important too. And if we can look after our health and have the best energy possible, then actually we can handle all the challenges that life brings us in a world that can sometimes be really frustrating and challenging, and the circumstances that go on. So there's a lot I could talk about today, but I've decided to narrow it down to 7 top tips. It's really easy to be an unhealthy vegan, and I was an unhealthy vegan to begin with. That's the way it started for me. So I can teach you how to avoid that. Does that sound good? Cool. So I have a clipboard, which is going to be going around at some point. It's got my business cards on it, and if there's any more information you want to know from me, then the information is on the clipboard. Please feel free to write some notes, some comments, or just tick what is appropriate to you. I'm also going to give you the chance to win a free health coaching session with me, and I'll tell you about that at the end. And I'll be giving you a free PDF to take away with you today. Are you excited? Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Jono. It's nice to see some familiar faces. So before I give you my 7 top tips, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an explanation, as to how my journey started and how I became where I am today. Actually, 10 years ago, I started to suffer from various conditions, not very massive conditions, but frustrating things like acid reflux, bloating, IBS, you name it, I had it with my digestion. And it was frustrating, and I went to see a doctor, went on medication, and then realised soon I didn't want to be on medication. I wanted to understand why my body was the way it was, and I did spend a long time thinking that was just normal, but it wasn't normal. So 4 years ago, can't get my words out. 4 years ago today, I decided to do a 30 days vegan healthy living plan, and I was sold after that. I have to say that I felt so different that actually I didn't look back. There was no way I was going back, because something was definitely different. I felt better. But the thing is, when I made this transition, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. I started to dig a little bit deeper into what veganism is all about, the truth in the world out there, and I started to become really sad and really helpless, and I felt really down about everything. And so I was on this roller coaster, and this was quite a low point where I didn't really know what to do. I just felt helpless. And at the same time, my life became really busy, and I didn't know what to eat. I didn't educate myself. I didn't do anything to educate myself. I didn't know what to eat. So my go-to was things like hummus and carrots. Hey. Hummus and cucumber. Hummus and celery. Just hummus all the time. That was my go-to. I was having things like oatcakes and peanut butter. I had so much peanut butter, I started to put on weight. So anything with a label vegan on it, I was like, oh, I can eat that. Yeah, cool, I'll have that. And I soon realized that was just not the way forward. Because these products were high in salt, sugar, they're acidic, all processed. So not only that, people around me started to change. Some of my closest relationships were coming at me with comments that I just didn't know how to respond to. Can anyone else relate to that? Yeah, like, oh, so how come, where are you going to get your protein from? Or, you need to be careful. You're going to be deficient in calcium. And I was like, at the time, I was like, oh, really? And I had to just explore because I had no answers, So it did upset me. It did create a lot of issues with my mental health, and I secluded myself from the world. I just hid from reality because I didn't want to face up to those comments. I didn't know how to manage them. Then I went to Veg Fest in London. Woo! And I was inspired. I met so many like-minded people. It was just an amazing experience to be a part of. I just wasn't on my own, and that made me feel amazing. There were so many people. But then I had a down point again because I still wasn't educating myself on what to eat. So all these amazing vegan treats, I just couldn't get enough of them. And I became addicted to sugar. I love sugar. I would have it all the time. And actually, I then had an intolerance test, an IgG food intolerance test, which I'll be talking about a little bit later. And all of the signs that the results of this test pointed to candida overgrowth in my gut. I don't know if any of you are aware of that, but it's where your bad bacteria grows and it feeds off of sugar. So I really needed to sort myself out. And at another Veg Fest, I met a guy called John at the College of Living Nutrition. And I decided to study. And I joined this college, received my diploma, and really started to understand my body and to heal myself. And along the way, I learned about the power of alkaline foods. I learned about how my body can best thrive. And by the way, John has an open day next Saturday in London at Regent's University. It's the 28th, I think it is, next Saturday. So if you are kind of on the same journey as me, I totally recommend it. You have to book to go to the open day, but if you do need to, just contact me and I can give you the details. So that's next Saturday. But this course helped me to refine myself. I became way more connected to my surroundings. I've always been a big fan of nature, but I was so much more into nature. I was just outside, grounding my feet with my shoes off. I'm that girl who hugs trees. That's me. And I opened up more spiritually, and my whole journey, it started with my food choice, started with my dietary habits, and then it opened up to understanding and connecting with my surroundings, but also understanding me. And the food was the foundation for me, but naturally I started taking the steps to better my health in all sorts of different ways: meditation, cold showers, the lot. So I started to wake up feeling alive every single day, and I just got to the point where I thought, I need to share this with people. I would love to help other people, so that is where my journey to helping others started. So I want more than anything for you guys to be for your health to be in tip-top condition. I'm sure you want that too, right? Awesome. Not only do you deserve it, but it will make you be your best self in a world that can sometimes be really challenging. And as a bonus, people will say, hey, I want to know why you're so healthy and so energized. And you can be like, yep, I'm vegan. Duh. So there's a clipboard going around. I don't know if you've seen it, but if there's anything, yeah, that's the one. If there's anything along the way that you like the sound of, just write some comments, some notes on the piece of paper, tick what you're interested in. So my top tips, what are they? As I said already, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, but I'm going to try and get the most important parts in these top 7 tips. Okay, number 1 is to alkalize. The human body is meant to be alkaline, and we'll go to great lengths to maintain alkalinity within the blood and tissues. Our bodies are alkaline by design. They're acidic by function. So we need alkaline fuel to compensate. So the food that we put in our bodies. In our modern world, we're surrounded by an imbalance of acidic dietary foods, all sorts. And this opens up room for illness and disease. And actually, when the body is acidic, we're more vulnerable to germs. And certain foods and certain liquids will contribute to your alkalinity more than others. Certain foods won't. So the benefits of raw food. Is there anyone in the audience who has a lot of raw food? Raise your hand. Amazing. Kind of. So the benefits of raw food. Well, raw food provides electrical energy to our body. Electrical energy. So we can gain so much energy just from having raw food. And this is uncooked food. And even when you sprout foods, it becomes even more amazing to the body. So I would recommend, if you haven't already, get into sprouting. It's amazing for your health. Acidic foods pull the electrical energy. For example, processed food, even cooked food. So with cooked food, if I'm ever going to cook, I'll usually steam so that the vegetables are still quite crunchy, so a very short amount of time. And what acidic foods do is they stop the metabolic processes in the rest of the body by focusing on breaking down the food that you're eating. So, who here has afternoon slumps or low energy? Yeah, that's why your body is trying to break down the acidic foods. What kind of foods are alkaline? Well, I'm going to be sending you a PDF with the list of alkaline foods, and I'll tell you how at the end, how you can get that from me. Lots of greens is one big tip for alkalinity. Greens have something called chlorophyll in. And chlorophyll is what gives the vegetables their green color, the leaves. I recommend, if you're going to do anything, just put and incorporate loads and loads of greens into your diet. These are the most alkaline, particularly things like grasses. Wheatgrass is my favorite. So if you don't like, who here loves greens? Yeah, love to see it. If you don't, I recommend learning to love greens. So we've also got alkaline salt minerals. So Himalayan salt is full of things like calcium, potassium, magnesium in trace amounts, and all the other minerals. And the salt minerals energize your body. They act as a catalyst to transport the energy around from cell to cell. So that's one thing to mention. Himalayan salt. I actually have Himalayan rock salts that I put into water, and I make a salt solution. If you want to know more on that, I don't really have time to go into it. I could talk all day. Then just write on the thing on the clipboard or message me afterwards. Another thing is water. Who here drinks lots of water? Yeah, okay. So we're going to talk about good water here. So good water is essential for energy. Our body becomes too acidic when we don't have enough water. And actually, without enough water, our body is going to fat storing mode. Fat storing mode if we don't drink enough water. So water neutralizes the acid, and it transports the toxins out of the body. Goodbye, toxins. We actually lose about 2.5 liters of water a day. But too much acidic water throws off the salt balance. So I'll just tell you a bit about what I do with my water. It's really interesting because water, tap water, is full of all sorts of stuff, including bad calcium. There's even been traces of things like antidepressants. It's a bit gross. But what I do is I distill my water, which takes away all of those nasties. But you then need to put the energy back in the water. So I have like a funnel with a spinner, and it spins the water as I pour it out. And then I put the minerals back in, good minerals. I've got pH drops. I sell them on my website. They're amazing. I don't go without them. I don't go a single day without them. I also use a concentrated chlorophyll, which comes from mulberry leaf, which I'd really recommend. So that's what I do. That's how I have my water every single day. With alkaline foods, you kind of want a ratio of 70 to 30, so 70 alkaline, 30 acidic, to maintain that kind of like healthy body level. And one thing I will mention is if you do have a sickness or illness, it's really important for you to have more than 70% alkaline foods to get yourself back in balance. But your alkaline reserves are important to top up. So your alkaline reserves are important for the maintenance, because when the blood and the body fluids in the tissue takes about 20 times more alkaline to neutralize any given acid. So if you have no alkalinity at all in your body, no alkaline reserves, it's bad news. It's just better to keep eating as much alkaline food as possible, because your body can always compensate for when you do have that occasional acidic meal. So keep your reserves topped up. You can actually measure your alkalinity via your saliva and urine with pH strips. So look out for those. They're online. So as I said to you, I'm going to give you all a PDF with a list of alkaline foods before you leave. Number 2. That was the biggest one, by the way. Alkaline foods are my thing. That's my passion. The rest is all the information that I've learned along the way. Not as much as a specialist in it all, but I've helped myself through it, and I've collected all the information together to share with you guys, because it's really important that we understand how our bodies work. Organic. So a lot of the foods, most of the foods that we buy in a supermarket, that we get on a daily basis, are just full of toxins and pesticides. So the more organic you go, the better you are to avoid those pesticides, of course. If you want any tips, if it's too expensive for you to go organic, my tips would be, you can still get organic food that isn't labeled as organic. Companies have to pay a lot of money to be certified organic. So if you have like a local farm, or if you know anyone with an allotment, go and ask questions and maybe trade with them. Say, I'll have that if you have this. I don't know, maybe you want to trade something. Or just go for greens. Always get your greens organic, because they are the most sprayed out of any food. There's also something called an ozonizer, which I use. If I'm really not sure whether something's organic, I'll use an ozonizer, which pulls away all the pesticides. You can get that online. I think it's about £30, so it's not much at all. Supplements. We all hear this when we go vegan. I want to say, firstly, be careful with supplements. There's lots of really dodgy ones out there. A lot of the supplements you buy often have filler ingredients, things like petroleum, which are toxic to the body, so we want to avoid those. B12, if you have a B12 deficiency, the damage is irreversible. And I know a good source, if you want to know, there's a company called Mega Food who do really good supplements. If you want any supplements, I recommend Mega Food. Or John, who I told you about at the College of Living Nutrition, he's really hot on all of the best supplements, because he's very into his research, so he will pick the best of the best. As always, go to him for his recommendations. And you'll learn about that if you go on his course, but also message me if you want to know any more information, and I can share that with you. Iodine is one a lot of us actually forget about when we go vegan. It's really important to keep ourselves topped up with iodine, because a lack of iodine means that the body can't make our thyroid hormones, and our thyroid hormones contribute to our energy levels, so we'll have a lack of energy if we don't have enough of the thyroid hormones in our body, and actually they regulate our vital body functions. Again, John is someone who I go to for iodine. He also sells something called Omega Minerals, really important to top up on minerals as well. One thing I haven't written on the side is iron. There's a supplement, a company called Mega Food again. They do something called Blood Builder. Recommend that one. And then you've got omega-3s and 6. So omegas strengthen our immunity cells. They provide us with energy. And really for optimal brain functionality, but everything in the body. Often us vegans get plenty of omega-6s, but we struggle to get omega-3. It's critical that we get our omega-3s. Actually, omega-3s mostly come from, well, you can get them in what's called ALA, which is a short chain omega-3, and you get from sources of flax and hemp. But sometimes it's not enough because our body needs to convert these into EPA and DHA, which are long-chain fatty acids. So we need all of those fatty acids to function optimally. So they need to be able to be converted, which is why it's important to get the right balance of both of the two. One thing I will say is marine phytoplankton, which is a marine algae, is already converted, so you don't need to worry about getting that. You can just take marine phytoplankton and you're good to go. John again sells marine phytoplankton. So basically, we need to get our omegas in the correct balance. Otherwise, it's not going to reach our cells, and we're not going to be able to function optimally. I am experimenting, so just to let you know with omegas, it's quite a new thing for me, and I'm not an expert at it, but I've been pulling sources from some really reliable people, and I recently came across a balanced oil called Zinzino, which if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook or anything, I'm actually going to be posting, in 6 months' time actually, I'm going to be posting a video of me trialing the balanced oil, and if it's good enough, if it works, then I will be promoting it. But for now, Zinzino, if you want to do research, that's the name. Gut health. This is a good one. This is important. So our body is made up of 100 trillion cells. Can you believe it? 100 trillion cells. 10% of that is our DNA. Only 10%. 90% is our ecosystem. And that's made up of fungi, never know how to say it, bacteria, microorganisms, all of which make up our microbiome, which takes actually 2/3 of which live in your gut. And a balance of good and bad bacteria is essential for your body to function properly. It's actually more difficult to absorb nutrients if your bacteria is out of whack. Just talk briefly about supplements such as B12. Now, you can get tested for B12, and if it appears in your blood, it can give you a false impression that you're fine, but actually if your body isn't absorbing the supplements, there's no point, So this is why that balance in the gut is important. So we have bacteria everywhere, on everything. So it's important that we have both our prebiotics and our probiotics to manage that. So we've got our prebiotics it feeds the good bacteria. So the good bacteria is the probiotics. The prebiotics feeds the probiotics. The prebiotics come from fiber. So any foods like legumes or even peels from like potatoes and stuff, seeds, grains, fermented foods, full of prebiotics. Have lots of those. Probiotics is the good bacteria which eats the bad bacteria. So you have to definitely top yourself up with prebiotics and probiotics. Again, Mega Food, really good company for probiotics. And I want to shout out a company who are really hot on this, and they're called Synergy. Synergy are an amazing company for understanding the microbiome in the body and really how our balance of bacteria is important for our health. But it's also about what you eat. So actually negative bacteria will grow if you feed the body with things like carbs and sugar, because they feed off that, a bit like what I was saying earlier when I had candida overgrowth. So candida overgrowth is really common when our bacteria is out of balance. And actually negative bacteria can break down our gut walls, causing things like leaky gut. So when you go see a doctor and they give you medication, you don't need to do that. You can just get your gut health in check, and that is the answer. And the thing is, I didn't know about this kind of stuff until I started to really understand and research it myself. It's just fascinating. And this is what I mean about getting to know your body and what you need. Food sensitivities. So our body can react badly to particular types of food, producing what's called IgG antibodies. This is largely a result of lifestyle and dietary habits. IgE is often something that doctors test for, but that's not what we want. That's more for allergies. And with IgG, it measures the IgG test measures your immune response to certain foods, which actually often are foods we eat most of, and which your body is reacting to. And it's often difficult to pinpoint those foods because your reactions can happen a good few days afterwards. That's what I went through. I had a lot of issues with bloating and all sorts. And I realized that there were certain foods, problem foods. So if you have any symptoms such as IBS, diarrhea, constipation, flatulence, headaches, abdominal pain, probably means you are reacting to some kind of food. So I do IgG tests now that I've had this journey myself. It's one of my passions, and I want to help you guys. So on the tick list, on the clipboard, if you are interested in that, then feel free to tick that. I test for the most common 49 most reactant foods. Cool, hopefully this is all making sense. You still look awake, which is good. The last one is get creative. I think in reflection, when I first went vegan, I chose the attitude of feeling depressed and sad and lonely, but along the way, I've really discovered that was my choice. I chose to feel that way. I chose to go down that road. But actually, instead now, I've decided to go the opposite way and be like, how can I make the most of this? You know, like, how can I understand my health? How can I have fun? How can I be creative? So that's exactly what my tip is for you. Get creative. Prepare your food. Make it colourful. Have as much raw as possible. Sprout. Have lots of greens. Experiment. And enjoy nourishing yourself and connecting back to yourself. Connect back to you. Understand what foods make you tick. That's actually a recipe that I made up on the spot. It just looked so colourful, I needed to share it with everyone. One day I might do a recipe book, you never know. So that was my top 7 tips. Thank you for listening. I'll just give you a bit of a rundown of what I do. So I told you already, I'm a health and energy coach. I work in lots of different ways. I work one-to-one. I have a group at the moment, a membership group, which is called Energy Transformation. And it basically provides a platform for transforming your energy for a long-term but gradual process with accountability and a group of like-minded people on the same journey as you. At the moment, I'm charging £35 membership for that, and that will go up over time. So if you want to be a part of it, I'm more than happy to have you, and you will have that price for the long run. I also have guest speakers in that group every 2 weeks, and they always bring something new and fresh to the table. I absolutely love it. On Monday, I'm having one speaker who is called Rasta Vegan, and she's going to be talking about mental health and diet. I'm really excited for that. That's at 8 o'clock next week. I just realised who you are. Hello. I also do one in-depth health consultations. If there's anything in particular getting in the way you just can't get on top of, we can have a good look into your medical history and try and pinpoint what's going on. I also have recently done a lot of energy release techniques, which I have realized have been a really important part of when you're transitioning to wanting better health. Sometimes you have emotional blockages which just need to be released, and so I've learned a lot of coaching techniques to release those and move on. And if you want to check out any testimonials, then please feel free to go to my Facebook page or my website. I've got some beautiful words people have written me, which I'm really grateful for. I also do food sensitivity tests, as I mentioned already. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. I really appreciate it. You could have been anywhere in the past half an hour, but you chose to be here listening to me, so I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.